It was the same day that Warhol was shot, that Bobby Kennedy, I think it was like a couple of days, all these things happened at once, And, uh, and I got busted. And when I came here, I thought, well, I would do ceramics, but I found it was just too much. I mean, you have to have so much equipment and, like kilns and wheels. So I just stopped that. And I mean, for a while, I had a little studio on 27th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And it got broken into somehow. There was like one of those transom things over the front door, and somebody crawled in and stole, I don't know, about 10 paintings and several drawings. And so when the cops came, they're like, you better watch out, somebody will murder you and your work will be worth a lot of money. I'm like, thanks a lot. And that night I looked in the Times and there was this ad, it said, 4 rooms, Avenue B, $35. And I called the number and they said, yeah, come down tomorrow and look at it. The East Village was a hot place, But that, I think the landlords got greedy and kept raising the rents, and the people said, fuck that. And they moved down to Soho and like that Broadway area. There were a lot of galleries there at one point. And then Chelsea started happening.
I met John through a friend named Barbara Moore, who was at the time, a dealer in rare books on avant-garde art movements like Fluxus and Performance and so on. And she, when she learned of my interest, said, you have to meet my friends Buster Cleveland and John Evans, both of whom I ended up representing. But really for me, collage is obviously an important part of mail art, but certainly not the only part. And so my intersection with that community, because it's really a huge community, an international community of artists, was really tangential, and it's really through John and Buster primarily, because I didn't know Ray Johnson personally, that I got to know some of the people in the network.
Yeah. I mean, I met Ray Johnson and this other guy, Albert Fine, at a party, when I, sort of like the year after I came here, in the West Village, we were at this party, and it was, in the summer it was really hot. So the party had sort of moved to the roof. And Ray Johnson and this guy Albert came, and they saw this tattoo on my arm, which I got when I was in high school in California. And so they were fascinated by it. And I don't know what we said, but anyway, Ray went off somewhere and he did this little drawing, which I have framed in the other room. Sort of looks like this, although it looks also like it might be a knife, a snake or something. And he gives me this little scrap of paper with this drawing on it, which is cool. Yeah, it's like, that was, say, 1964 or 5, I don't know. I found a painting of hers on the street, on 4th Street and Avenue B. And I had one kid on my back, one in a stroller. And I look at this painting, it's propped up against like a push cart with, they're selling hot dogs. And I'm like, what the hell is that doing here? It's like, an Alice Neel. And I go to the guy and I said, "Is that for sale?" And he says, "15." And I'm like, "What's that, 15?" He said, "Yeah." And I reached in my pocket, I had a 10 and a 5, and I gave it to him, and I took the painting. It was a big painting, about that size, maybe a little bigger. And so I had, the kids, and I brought the painting up here. And people said, "Oh, you should hang on to that. It's going to be worth a lot of money someday, blah, blah, blah." And I called Alice. I said, "No, I mean, I've known her. She's a good friend. I love her. So I call her and I'm like, "Well, I found this painting." She said, "Oh my God, that's one of my best paintings. It was stolen from the Pratt Institute or someplace in Brooklyn." She said, "Can you bring it right up?" And I said, "Well, no, I didn't think I couldn't do it today." And I said, "As a matter of fact, I thought we could make a trade because you painted my portrait, you painted Robin's, my girlfriend, you painted Margaret, you painted the twins." And she's like, "Oh, you rat." I'm like, "Come on, lady, I think I'm doing you a favor."
I was really interested in the whole gamut of his collage making because really John has been so consistent in terms of both the quality of the work and of course it's changed over the years, and there have been different themes that have come and gone, including the now legendary Ursuline ducks.
Well, there's sort of a tribute to this friend, a woman who, well, she was born in Germany, but she always claimed she was French. She had, well, I guess lived in Paris when the Nazis were there, so she just hated the Germans, even though she spoke German. And I mean, she was really a brilliant person. I mean, she was a writer, but she also did these strange paintings. And there's one in the hall of those duck heads. And in the earliest collages, I sort of had a horizon line, whatever. And then one day I just sort of drew, I mean, I maybe made mountains or whatever. And one day it looked like those duck heads. And I thought, hey, Ursuline ducks. So that's what I called them. And they were a tribute to her.
In the case of John made over 10,000 collages in the course of his career thus far, and there's no shortage of wonderful material for me to work with as a dealer, for me to exhibit. There's an endless supply of interesting themes for exhibitions, etc. I think it's just in John's nature to be productive, and so I took his quote-unquote retirement from daily collage making with a grain of salt, because I knew at some point he wouldn't be able to resist. This is so much. The making of these collages is so much part of the fabric of who he is, and what makes up his life.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've had quite a life.